Hey everyone, it's Jonna, the Preppy Crafty Girl, and I am here for hashtag Trinket Tuesday, an open collab that I created. And it is done on Tuesdays, and we are either going to show our trinkets, talk about things from our childhood that we may still have, show how we display them, our collections, all the little quirky things. And also in this series, I am doing some making of trinkets. So today I'm working on pumpkins and I'm working with polymer clay. I used to be big into polymer clay, especially back in the early 80s. I was doing polymer clay, and then I kind of fell back in love with it in 2000 and I don't know, 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there, when I got into planning and I was making planner clips and all kinds of things like that out of polymer clay. So I thought, what better time now than fall to make a little pumpkin charm out of polymer clay, so that, or you don't have to make it a charm. It could just be a little trinket that you keep in a box or put up on your shelf. And I'm going to show you my tips and tricks that work for me and have worked for me in the past. So some of the things you're going to need are really sculpting tools by Sculpey, the company called Sculpey, and they make these tools. And then, or you could get like dotting tools for nail art, and they come in all different sizes. So depending on what you're going to make is going to be the size of the dotting tool that you'll need. And so I have a couple of those. Another thing you're going to need is the polymer clay. It's like a knife. I guess that's what they call it. And then you will need some kind of makeup brush. I just have an inexpensive e.l.f. blending brush. So, but any kind of, I find those work great, are the makeup brushes. You can get them at the Dollar Tree or Dollar General or anywhere else you find inexpensive makeup brushes. This is by Sculpey. It's also a tool. This, I use the blade end for this item. There's also a scoop out. They come in a big set, but I'm using this one. I'm turning mine into a charm, so I'm going to be using some of these eye screws. And you will also need a rolling pin for polymer clay. This is an acrylic. And everything will be linked below. I will have my Amazon affiliate links. Anything you purchase from my affiliate links, just, I'm not even there yet to where I even make any kind of commission on it. I kind of laugh because I forgot how many how many click-throughs you have to have before you can actually get, a small commission off of anything that doesn't affect you at all. So if you use my links, I greatly appreciate it. If not, don't worry about it. So anyway, you're going to need that. And then Sculpey makes this gloss glaze, and this will be the last item that we will use on our charm or trinket. Another thing is, now I'm using the Sculpey 3. Sculpey 3 is one of my favorite polymer clays to work with because it's really super soft. They also make one called Soufflé, so I will link those below. I do enjoy using the softer clay. It's just a lot easier. If you find that you're using regular Sculpey, which is fine, you'll probably want to go buy a pasta maker machine because you have to really knead it to get it soft to make it to where it won't crack. And so you might want to think about going to thrift stores or estate sales or something like that and picking up an inexpensive pasta making machine. Now, you're not going to want to reuse it once you use it for the clay, and you may want to look into that. So here's FIMO. FIMO makes one also called Soft, which is another one that I enjoy using. Okay, you're going to need some FIMO liquid if you're going to turn this into put it on the end of a paper clip, which you could do. I've done that tons of times when I was making my planner charms. I would make them on paper clips. And you're going to want to use the FIMO liquid to put a little bit on the eye hook when we put it into the pumpkin. However, if you don't, or if you're not going to use an eye screw, you don't need to have that. Or you could also use an eye pin, anything like that, that you're going to be putting metal or fusing anything else to it. You're going to want to use the FIMO liquid. This is a clear liquid gel and hardens in the oven. You will also maybe need a toaster oven because we're going to bake this at 275. It's 15 minutes per 1/4 inch. And that is something you might also want to look into getting, is if you're going to get serious about this, is a toaster oven that you only dedicate to making your charms. The other thing that I like to use is called a polymer clay template. Now this one helps to know how big of a ball you're going to create when you cut your piece of clay out. If you cut this size out, you're going to end up with 1 1/8 of a ball. And then this also shows you how many teaspoons, like how big of the Sculpey that you need. And this is for like a Sculpey 3. This is for FIMO soft. You use a half block, or this will be the FIMO classic half block. This is the Premo Sculpey, or this is the Premo or the Sculpey 3, and you're going to use a 1/4 block, and that shows you, so meaning they have 4 blocks, and you just line it up here, and then you're going to cut it to match that. So you could put it on here. You could mark it using one of these little dotting tools. So you say you want a half, you just mark it, and then you're going to cut out that little piece using your little saw, or I forgot what they call it, a Sculpey blade or something, which it is sharp, so watch your fingers. So we're going to get started, and I just eyeball it. I'm not big into like measuring necessarily unless I'm going to mass produce. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball the size of pumpkin that I want, and I'm going to work the clay down. Now, when you're working with clay, you constantly, when you're changing colors or you're getting ready to start, you want to clean your hands. Now, I have freshly cleaned hands. My nails are horrible because I have been working with Fabri-Tac and it destroys your fingernail polish, so I apologize. And anyway, so we are just going to work this in, and I'm just going round and round, working that into a tight ball. And yeah, so I'm just going to keep moving it smooth and working out any kind of creases that or pockets that happen. And I'm just going to keep rolling until I get it nice and smooth. And then I'm going to just pinch between my fingers to get that little pumpkin shape. And I'm just going to kind of go around like this to get the little pumpkin shape. And I'm going to hold the pumpkin between my first finger and my thumb. And I am going to, the cool thing about this is because when you bake it, it sets up and it hardens. And then after that, you can't do anything to it. You can rebake it if you want to attach something to it, but you wouldn't be able to like mold it anymore. And the other thing that you're going to need for the pumpkin is you're going to want to get some soft pastels. And I'm using the Faber-Castell soft pastels. You can use soft pastels to do shading and coloring. If you're using the liquid FIMO, you can color it. I make coffee cups and make the coffee out of the liquid FIMO and adding some of the soft pastels to the liquid FIMO. All right, so I'm going to take this dotting tool and I'm going to literally just make some lines at the top, so across from each other, and then I'm going to try to do it as, and I mean, it doesn't have to be exact because again, pumpkin, nature, the whole thing, but I'm going to go ahead and make 8 quadrants like that. And now I'm going to take my dotting tool, and I don't know if I want to use the bigger one. I think that's going to be too big of a line. So I am going to use this dotting tool, and all I'm going to do is press and roll, press and roll. And that's going to make my indentation for my pumpkin. And I'm going to bring it down into the bottom. Again, you can drag it if you want. I don't suggest dragging it on this one because you just want an indentation. And if you drag, you're going to have some little like crumbs, which is no big deal. You could get a clean brush and just brush the crumbs off, or pick them off with a toothpick if you want. So all I'm doing is rocking it. I hope you guys will try this. Working with clay is a lot of fun. I've made all kinds of stuff. I made the Grinch one Christmas. That was fun. I made a Grinch head and put a little Santa hat on him. And I'll pull him out at Christmas time. He's on my Christmas TN that I made. So you want to hold it very gently because you don't want to put any indentations in it. If you do, sometimes that's what this is good for, smoothing out. You can use it to smooth out things. Like, see, I got a little indentation there. So I might take this little wider one and just kind of smooth it out a little bit. But so see how I'm making the indentations. And I might take my tool and just smooth it out, bring it down. Again, this is going to be nature, so you know it doesn't have to be exact. Sometimes if I'm making them to sell them, I will. I'm a little pickier, definitely a lot more pickier, but this is going to be for me, so I'm not going to be quite as picky, but I still want it to be cute. And then the last one, I'm gonna, you can wear gloves if you don't want to get fingerprints on it. I'm holding it very gently, so I'm not getting fingerprints on it. Again, I can smooth it out just slightly. Alrighty, and then I'm gonna kind of indent the top, and I'm gonna go down here, and I'm gonna smooth it out by kind of rolling in a circle, working the clay in a circle. And then that will be the bottom of the pumpkin. Yeah. Okay, so I have that. Next, what I'm going to do is I want to, I'm not going to color it just yet, because if I mess up the leaf and the vine, and I get it stuck on where I don't want to, I can then just start all over again. So I don't want to add my colorant to it. However, I am going to, so can you see this, the pumpkin? And I've got my little pumpkin shape. And I'm going to say, let's see, I can measure this for you. This is 1 inch. I'm pretty good. I've been doing this for quite a long time, so I'm pretty good at picking out enough clay for what I need. So don't beat yourself up. If you don't get it the right size, you can always cut it away and start again, you know, smoothing it out and all that. All right, I want to clean my hands off. I'm just using a wet wipe because I don't want to transfer the color over onto the green. And with the green, I'm going, and I always start with clean tools because this will transfer color over into your clay. And especially if you're working from dark to light, you will really ruin the light clay. So all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to roll it and get it kind of thinned out because I want to make a leaf. So I'm going to make the leaf and I'm going to make the vine. So I'm just lightly, you don't need a lot of pressure. If you want to put some cornstarch on your work surface, you can. So I'm just going to smooth that out with my finger. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty good. And now I'm just going to cut off a little bit on the side because this is, and then how this is really good because you can put it underneath and pick it up off of your mat. And I'm just using a Dollar Tree cutting mat. That's all I have down. It's nice and smooth. It's not textured, so it doesn't leave any kind of texture on your clay. So all I'm doing now is I'm rolling it back and forth in the palm of my hand in the middle. And what it does is it'll give you this long, nice, fun little viney thing, which is what we want, right? So the more you roll, the longer it'll get and the thinner it'll get. And I want probably around 3 inches is going to give me a nice vine for my pumpkin. All right, so I've got that, but first I need to do my leaf. So I am going to cut a little piece off, and I'm going to cut that in half. So I've got 2 little pieces, and then I'm done with this. And then for my leaf, all I'm going to do is roll these into kind of an oval-y shape. So it looks like that. So I'm just kind of rolling it and pressing it. So I'm not going as much round and round as putting pressure to get an oval. So I'm getting this kind of like an oval-y shape. And that's what I want. So like an egg shape. And then I'm just going to press, and then I'm going to just start to shape it into a leaf. And that is looking pretty good. I'm not making it like look like a pumpkin leaf. I mean, I could, but this is really small pumpkin leaves. I mean, I could make it look like a pumpkin leaf, and all you're going to do is flatten it out. Yeah, well, flatten it out like this, and then so it's a little fatter at the top, and then you have this like indent. And that's almost like a heart shape, like so. And then I'm going to smooth it out, and for smoothing I like to use this big one. And then all I'm going to do here is use my blade again to pick it up off the mat. And I'm going to just put this up here on top of my pumpkin. And if you gently press, it's going to attach itself to the pumpkin. So right here, I'm going to now work very gently with getting it to the shape that I want. And I want to do a little indent. I'm going to use my tiny end for that. And I'm going to just come in here, do my little indents for the leaf. And so that is my first leaf. Let's see if it'll focus. So I have that. And then let's do the second one. And the second one, we will make this one probably a little squattier. And that just came right up off my mat. And the other leaf will go on the other side. And I'm just going to use the big one to kind of smooth it. Smooth it down. And press it in. Like so. I hope you're enjoying this series. I've seen several people post videos. I do a shout out if you do on my channel. I put you on the playlist. So if you are participating in the hashtag Trinket Tuesday, you will get onto my playlist on my channel, and then I will do a shout out to you and kind of get people to go over and see your little collection or what you're making or what you're doing. So, alrighty. That is looking pretty good for me right there. And now I'm going to add the vine. Now the vine, what I do is I take it and I will, if there's anything you want to cover, because like you made a little oops, like your nail got in it or something like that, now is the time that you will want to fix it. And you could cover it with, and all I'm doing is twisting it and twisting it and making a little vine. And then I'm going to press it down once I get it where I want it. Let's have it go down like this. That's cute. And it'll just hang off like that. All right. And then we are going to come in here and take, let's get this green off. And I don't want to transfer any of the green onto the orange pumpkin. So I'm going to take a wet wipe and wipe my hands off, or a wet towel you could use. And this is where we're going to pull out the, and when I'm done using my tools, I usually wipe them down as well so that I don't forget and then accidentally, if I'm making more than one, I don't accidentally contaminate my tools. I will do that. Okay. Next, we are going to use these Faber-Castell soft pastels, or any kind of soft pastel that you have works great. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a little bit of darker orange. So I'm just, adding a little on the brush. It's just like, you are going to shade. So I'm just kind of shading in my pumpkin, just using that little bit of orange and adding a little bit of shadow, like on the bottom. I'm going in to where the lines are. Just want to load this up and dust it on. I don't know if the camera's picking this up because it's not a whole lot darker than the orange that I'm using on here. So, but I will go in with a little bit of, I will go in with a little bit of brown. So can you see how that is doing that? Let me see if I turn this down. It might be a little too bright and you can't see. I don't know, maybe a little bit lighter. Let's try that. There. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of this rusty brown and kind of put it on the bottom of the pumpkin. Just, how it sits down on the ground, gets a little brown, and then we can shade it. We can add some shading up on the leaves. And there, I'm really liking how that's looking. Now here, I did put my finger in there, so I'm just going to smooth that little indent out like so. And then I'll go back in and add some shading. Oops, that looks like I got a little piece of, yeah, I had a little piece of brush hair on it. And let me smooth this out a little bit more. And go back in with my dotting tool and add that in. And I'm going to come in and highlight. Okay. Liking how this looks. Yeah, it's cute. All right, so I've got that. Then, and you can also go in with a little bit of highlight for the green. So I might just kind of take this brush and clean it off a little bit. I do have there's a color on this green a little bit. I will, oops, not wet. Let's see. I'll go in with and add some highlights too with my brush. So I'll go in with a little bit of lighter color and just tap on the edges and add a little bit of highlight. All right, so that's my pumpkin so far. Next, we're just going to add, I'm going to turn it into a charm. And in order to do that, I'm just going to get out an eye screw. I'm going to get kind of like a brownie color, brown tan instead of a bright color. And then I'm going to use the FIMO liquid gel. And I'm going to just put it right on to the end screw part of the eye screw. And then I'm going to just stick it into, you don't have to screw it, just push right into the pumpkin. So you can see how I did that. And that will, after it bakes, that will be solid in there, and you'll be able to hang it or use it for whatever. Okay, so now what I'm doing is, because I've already made one pumpkin and I'm working on a coffee cup, I am going to go ahead and put these on some tin foil. I have a just inexpensive cookie sheet that I only use for clay and drawing papers. And so I'm going to put it on some, I put it on some tin foil, and I'm going to pop it in my toaster oven at 275 for about 15 minutes. I'll take this one out, and then I'll probably put these in another 5 because these are about a 1/2 inch by 1 inch. So I'll probably put these in for 20 minutes, and this one I'll do for 15, since that's about 1/4 inch. Okay. And then I will, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back, and they are cooled out of the oven. So I left these in for 20 minutes, and then this one went in for 15. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of this Sculpey gloss glaze. This does not go into the oven or your toaster oven. This actually will just dry overnight, and it'll give it a nice gloss and protect the clay. And so I'm just going to get a let's see, I need a I'm gonna use, yeah, this one. All right, this is a speedball brush, so I'm just going to use that because I had it in there. Every time you use this, you want to stir it up really well. I've already stirred it. You don't want to shake. And what you're going to do is just lightly add a nice light coat on to your pumpkin or whatever you decide you're going to make. And it'll be a little frosty at first, but you want to go into all the crevices, and you're going to get rid of all the bubbles with your, just keep brushing. You don't need very much. A little goes a super, super long way, but this way it will protect your little pumpkin, and it'll make it all nice and shiny. I recommend their product because it is specifically made for clay, and it will not then like make the item sticky. Sometimes when you use other kinds of gloss mediums, you will it'll be sticky. Probably not at first, but then eventually it will. And also if you put it on a clip, it's going to change the color of the clip and make the clip sticky, even if you don't even get it on the clip. So this is a product that I recommend. And I'm just going everywhere it looks like kind of puddled. I'm going to pick it up and press it down, and I think I've got it pretty well covered. Just gonna go down there, and yeah, so that's one. Let's do the other one, and then these will harden up 24 hours and they will look great. And I'm just putting it on freezer paper, or I mean parchment paper, so that because they'll be wet on the bottom, but it won't stick, oops, to the parchment paper. So again, if it looks like it's cloudy, you want to go ahead and keep moving that medium around. You don't want it to pool because you will notice it when it dries. This does dry clear. So yeah, I think I got it all on there. The vine and the little crevices of the vine. And you can always, if you want to add extra, you can always wait a few hours and then come back and add another coat if you want, but one coat should be plenty. That's how much I use. Make sure I get it down in there. And that's done. Let's go ahead and do the cup. If you want to know how to make a coffee cup, you can leave a comment in the bottom and I will show you in another video how to make a coffee cup. I've made all kinds of different 3D things. I've made a Keurig. I've made donuts with sprinkles and cakes and little everything in miniature. I've done so many clay things over the years. And I'm actually trying to find my box that I had it all in, all my little miniatures, and I can't find it, so I haven't been able to share it, but hopefully I'll be able to find it soon. Probably still packed away. Okay. So, oops, there's that. And yeah, alrighty. So I'm going to go and rinse this off, and then these will harden by tomorrow. They'll be done and they'll be all ready to hang on a journal or a tassel or something like that. Aren't they cute? So cute. So thank you again for participating in the hashtag Trinket Tuesday. I appreciate all of you for posting your videos online. I've been having fun watching them, and you have a great and creative day. Bye, guys.